So my name's Matt. I got a small company called Diamond M Woodworks. I travel all over the western US and I tear down old barns, corrals, fences, tack rooms, you name it, and use the old wood to turn into whatever you want. So in this case, as you know, Carson's the king of crazy builds. He's throwing sunroofs into bump sides and dent sides and everything else.
Anything crazy, we like it.
So we're gonna turn this into a conference room table. Why wouldn't we? This old stuff looks like junk, and that's kind of where I come in. I like turning old junk into really cool stuff. So we're gonna use as much of this old material that we can. Some of it's a little too far gone.
Some of it got broken pretty bad when I tried to get it off the truck. I got a little bit frustrated with it and said to hell with it, just started ripping, but here it is.
So I'm gonna splice in some of my stuff. We're gonna tie in some of the old stuff that was originally on this. We're gonna pour a fresh coat of crystal clear epoxy over the top of it. When it's all done, it's gonna be pretty unique. Near as I can tell, I don't think anybody's done it. That's pretty on the bottom side. Oh yeah. Got it. That's all stuff for the subframe. So what I want to do is leave enough room between my frame and the edge of this, so I've got a little bit of slop just in case this thing isn't perfectly square. So I'm just kind of eyeballing laying it out right now. And then we're going to trim these pieces to fit inside of this frame, and I want to leave like 1 inch to 1/2 inch of room because it's not crucial that I go to the very edge of this. So I just want to do it so that when we set it in, we've got enough room to wiggle it around if we really need to. So like this side, if you get a shot of that, isn't straight. So we're probably going to have to hook like a come along or something to this and then put a level on it to try to square this up before we start, before we start throwing some wood in it. So
just hit it. This is a big enough hammer, right?
Probably some hammers, probably some cuss words, maybe a good combination of the two. I'm gonna check my measurement. You know what they say, measure once, cut twice.
So we're building the frame here for the table, the underneath side that Matt was talking about. So right now he's grabbing some screws. We're gonna screw this framework together, and then we'll throw the OSB on top of that. And then we're gonna start taking all the old reclaimed wood that we have off of the side panels of the old truck bed. And then we're gonna start cutting it and putting it all together. And I think we're gonna try to do kind of a crazy pattern, not just straight boards, but I don't even know what they call it, that kind of that crisscross, everything like on an angle type of thing. Because we got some pieces that have red paint all over it, like old paint. And it looks really cool. And so we kind of wanna incorporate that red paint pieces of wood here and there and everywhere because we think the overall look at the end will be really cool. So that's what we're doing right now.
So since we got a little bit of slop built into this, I've got a 1/2 inch on both sides. It doesn't have to be perfect because this isn't really structural. This is just to kind of hold the tabletop together while I build it. Normally we'd throw like a square on this, but we're kind of going quick and easy framing style. So far, so good. Everybody's still got all their fingers. So just a trick that you'll probably use at some point in your life. So you should drill a pilot hole when you're drilling into something like this so you don't split the end out. But if you're in a hurry and you don't want to do that, you can take your drill and run your screw in left-hand rotation. And it doesn't take a lot. Just wallow it out for a minute. So you get a little pilot hole, and then you can run your screw in and you won't split that board. Kind of handy, quick trick.
Okay, so we've got the main subframe built, and then we're gonna put another 2x4 right here in the center to kind of help support it when we put the OSB on there. To kind of just help hold everything together. If it's in the way when we set it on the frame rails of the truck, then we'll just remove it at that time, won't be a big deal. But we wanna make sure everything stays square and perfect as we build it, and doesn't get all squampus and weird.
We're gonna use these steel straps and some screws just to make it easy to take it off if we need to when we go to mount this thing. But for now, it should be more than enough support to get us through what we're doing while we're building it. Okay, so we've got our subframe built. So what we're gonna do is take this OSB, trim it to size, and this is gonna be what we're gonna nail that old wood to. So we're just kind of fitting that stuff up. We'll attach that really solid to this 2x4 frame.
This is basically the base of the table.
And then we'll start throwing old wood on it and make it look cool. I want to use as much of the old original stuff as we can because that's kind of part of the deal, you know?
Well, yeah, make it genuine.
Yep. Yep, this stuff tells a story. It goes with that truck. So.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's so cool.
We might be able to do the whole table with this stuff, honestly. It's pretty. I'm telling you, any of the color,
oh, dude. Look at that.
It doesn't match the rest of the table.
Yeah, but if you had it somehow.
But I could tie it in. There's just more character. We could space it out, you know what I mean? Work one every 3 or 4 in. That red is cool.
That is cool.
That would look cool in it.
I think we better try to figure out how to work it in.
All right.
That is cool. So now that we got this table all laid out, we realize it's really big. It's a big table. So we've kind of switched up the idea on the pattern and what we're going to do with the, we were going to originally put a big old metal box in the center with our logo and have like outlets, but you'd have to reach clear over to get to it, and so we don't want to do that. I reached out to our local guys that make our shirts and hats and stuff for us to see if they could hurry and print me a vinyl decal of the Shield logo of Black Sheep Customs to set in the center before we pour all of the epoxy over the top of it. So, I don't know, what do you think?
I think it'll turn out pretty good. So the material that I brought is a little bit thinner than the stuff that was originally on this truck. So I'm gonna do my diamond pattern. We've already laid it out and found dead center. So I'm gonna start a diamond pattern inside out. And so the thinner material is gonna be in the middle. And then this thicker stuff that was originally on the bed, we're gonna lay on the outside to run into it, and kind of a geometric. And so with epoxy, it's self-leveling. So we'll start pouring in the middle, and then once it's up to level with the original stuff, that epoxy will spill out, so that even though they're gonna be different heights, that epoxy will self-level and everything's gonna come out perfect.
Yeah, so then the finished layer will be nice, smooth, and level, and flat. It'll look really good.
It'll look like that's what we tried to do.
Yeah, well, we are gonna try to do it now. We're gonna have to change the idea a little bit, you know, just roll with the punches as they came, but this table's huge. So
that's just how custom stuff goes. Like, you can start with a plan, but eventually you're gonna have to be willing to make some adjustments and get a little bit creative. So
yeah, for sure.
That's what we're gonna do. I think it'll turn out.
That's how you bring out the personality in the table. So I mean, or anything you're working on, any project. So we're pretty excited.
What I'm doing is I'm putting a bead of silicone in for a couple different reasons. So this wood is old and it's obviously not in the best shape ever, so it's not all straight. So it gives me a bit of a fudge factor, so if these don't butt up perfect, which a lot of times they don't, this silicone will take up a little bit of space so that when we're pouring the epoxy, instead of letting the epoxy run in these gaps or these nail holes, it takes up the space so the epoxy doesn't get under the wood and flow out over the table. That's important because epoxy is expensive, and then also it leaves air gaps. So if you weren't to fill the air gaps between the wood or like under the knots, when you poured your epoxy, eventually that air would work itself out. And what we're looking for is like a crystal clear, perfect finish. So if we can eliminate those air gaps, we won't have to worry about air working its way up when the epoxy is curing. I've spent lots of hours chasing tiny little air bubbles, and I found that it's a little extra work, but I found that doing this silicone eliminates those air gaps and makes for a really nice clear finish.
Okay, we're just about done with the diamond pattern here in the...
Oh, we're just getting started. Then we're gonna tie in the old wood that sits a little bit higher like we talked about. Diamond's finished up, then we're gonna start running this stuff horizontally to tie in with the diamond. But we're getting closer.
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet.
So, this is the very last piece, and just like any custom build, of course, it was the hardest one of the whole freaking thing. But we're there. That's it. I'm gonna throw some silicone on it, throw some nails in it, and we're onto the horizontal stuff. Cool. On to the good stuff. Now we're freaking talking. That looks good. So we're cruising right along. We've started implementing some of the old wood that was on the bed originally, and we're tying it into the diamond pattern that we already built. So we've taken some of the old red stuff. We wanted the color showing because it's just, as soon as we put the epoxy over this red's really, really gonna pop and just
it's gonna look good.
Add even more character to this table. So just more tedious angles and all that geometry stuff that we didn't like in high school is all coming into play. But if we did this right, it should mostly be 45-degree angles. So that's kind of what we're shooting for.
That's easy math.
That's easy math.
All 45.
Even this guy can do that math.
Damn right
so,
I can.
But we're moving right along. This is kind of the slow, kind of tedious process. Just kind of fitting everything together and moving right along. Okay, so we are dangerously close to being done with this. You take a look around, we've got like one more piece to do on all 4 corners, and we've got 1.5 pieces of wood left, and these are the really beat up pieces that I was hoping we weren't gonna have to use. But it's all we have left. If we had 2 more pieces of wood, I'd be breathing easy right now, but that's not really how it worked out. So we are gonna piece the last little bit of this together using whatever we have left, and it just wouldn't be as fun if it wasn't a little bit stressful, and that's where we're at. So like this piece is one of the last stragglers, and this has all been tongue and groove and it's gone together really good. And these are the pieces I didn't use because some of them have some of the groove broke off, some of them have some of the tongue broke off, and yeah. This one looks like it's actually been chewed on by a horse at some point. So that's kind of neat, but it's not really neat when you're trying to make everything match up good. So yeah, pray for me. I think we're still gonna make it, but it's definitely gonna be tight. We are just wrapping this up. This is the last piece that we have to fill, and what you can see on the table here is literally the only material that we've got left. So maybe we're lucky, maybe we're good. We're probably a lot more lucky than good, but this is gonna work out. So that piece right there is gonna fit. It's got a little bit of red tied in to, I think, pull the rest of the table together, and that's it. Somehow we pulled the old board stretcher out and we made this work. It wasn't without a little bit of anxiety, and that's fine. It just adds to the fun, really.
We got to pull it off, put the frame on top, get it in the showroom, set it on the truck, level it out, and pour the epoxy.
The hard part's done. Now it's just a little bit of moving, a little bit of mixing, and maybe a little more luck. So far, so good. So we're just gonna kind of keep rolling with this.
And another energy drink for me and another beer for you. Let's go.
Why not?
Okay, we finally got the table in here and on the back of the truck. We got the metal trim around it. We got it screwed down. We got C-clamps on it, trying to hold it all straight, because over, what, almost 80 years, it's all tweaked and bent. We hammered it out, did a little welding on it. But we're ready to set our decal on top, and then we're gonna pour the resin. Okay, plot twist. We decided that this vinyl ain't gonna work for crap, and then it also dawned on us that we can just stick the vinyl on top of the epoxy after it's all done. Anyways, whatever. So we're gonna pull it fast and just see what happens for fun. This one's trash. We'll start over later.
Two o'clock in the morning.
After 2. It's like 2:20 now.
How you feeling?
I'm ready for bed.
I'm ready to start on the next one.
Oh,
What do
yeah.
you got? What's next?
Yeah, right. He's full of shit.
It's done. It's quitting time. I'm pretty sure.
We ran out of epoxy, so it's not like there's much more we can do about it.
Dude, you realize how lucky we got with this whole thing? We had half a piece of wood left for the top. We had the perfect amount of epoxy to pour it. Like, this whole thing is just, we've been oddly lucky with this build. This is like after the movie credits play And they, you know, they add in the bloopers and errors and the dumb stuff that didn't make the movie. This is it. This is the real deal right here.
All right, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us because we're building cool stuff. Not always tables, usually trucks, but sometimes a conference table with a truck. So we'll see you on the next one.